Hey cutie. Welcome back, or welcome to my channel if you're new. My name is Laura. Hi, hello, welcome. I've been doing the eye bank project for a while now, trying to just curb my eyeshadow spending, and with this in combination with my No Pan Left Behind, it's really let me spread the love in my collection in its entirety and use all of my eyeshadows within a given amount of time. And just in general, I'm using my eyeshadows so much. So if you missed my last update, I have been clawing myself out of a hole that I dug. I ended up bringing in a pretty large quantity of eyeshadow wise palette into my collection a couple months ago, and it did take a big hit out of my eye bank. It was actually negative 180 points that got withdrawn from that purchase. So I've been just working towards getting out of the deficit. You know, we're in debt in my eye bank, and that's okay. Sometimes we go in debt and we just have to work our way out of it. Ending August or starting September, I had negative 47 points in my bank. And again, I have been slowly getting my way out of a deficit. The deficit started in June when I had brought that eyeshadow palette into my collection, and I had negative 74 eyeshadows. So I made a heck of a big step towards being out of my deficit, and currently I'm so excited about the number I am at ending September. Before we jump into the meat of the video, I do have just a couple tweaks to the rules that I want to mention, because there are going to be some slight changes within the rules in this project, and that's because I hit a pretty significant threshold this month. I always have my eye bank spreadsheet linked down below in the description box. It's my Google sheet, so it has my rules, my monthly totals, how many points I've gained, how many points I've lost. If you're looking for real-time information, that's going to be the best way to look and see how I'm doing currently. So I have some different criteria for gaining points. First, I gain a point if I No Pan Left Behind a palette. So that is using every single shade in an eyeshadow palette. I only count it for the first time I hit No Pan Left Behind within the year, because that's how I track my No Pan Left Behind. I give myself 2 points for hitting pan in an eyeshadow. I give myself 5 points for finishing an eyeshadow completely. And yes, that does count if I have dropped a shade and most of it has shattered. I do give myself 5 points for finishing the shade, no matter how little product is within that shade. I also gain points for different usage thresholds, and that's where things are going to change just slightly this month, because I've hit a pretty significant milestone. So if I use a shade 10 times, I gain 1 point. If I use a shade 25 times, I gain 2 points. If I use a shade 50 times, I gain 3 points, and 100 times gains me 4 points. Now, I have hit the 100 threshold on a certain product today that we'll talk about later, but I also have surpassed that threshold, and I ended up hitting another milestone of 110 points. So what I've decided to do is, after I hit the 100 point threshold, because that's a good even like break point for the numbers, I'm going to restart, and anytime I hit like another sequential goal, so 110 uses, 125 uses, 150 uses, and 200 uses, those I'm just going to start the point collection again. So 110 uses, 210 uses, 310 uses, I'm always going to gain a point anytime I hit that 10 point threshold after it goes to 100, you know? Then same thing with 25, 125 uses will gain me 2 points, 150 uses will gain me 3 points, and 200 uses will gain me another 4 points. So I am constantly almost resetting the points gain. So it's not as like, okay, well, 100 uses, I'm done collecting points for it. So it still incentivizes me to use those shades when I hit those thresholds. Ideally, eyeshadow won't take 100 uses to get through, but we clearly are there now. Alternatively, I do have some rules and criteria to spend my points. So my general rule is every pan of eyeshadow is worth 10 points when I'm buying a palette. It does incentivize me to buy smaller palettes. If I'm buying a 4-pan eyeshadow palette or a quad, it's going to take 40 points out of my collection. Whereas if I'm buying a 20 eyeshadow palette, it's 200 points out of my bank. So it is causing me to make smarter purchasing when I'm looking at eyeshadows, I'm like thinking about like how long is it going to take me to really use this eyeshadow up. And then alternatively, I do have some like half points deducted kind of thing. If I'm buying an eyeshadow with Ulta points and using the majority of Ulta points to cover that purchase, I have the cost of the eyeshadows I'm bringing in. So again, we'll use that 20 palette or that 20 pan palette idea. If I'm buying that using my Ulta points, I am only counting myself 10 points or 10 shades worth of bank depletion. So a 20 pan eyeshadow palette would only cost me 100 points in that scenario. Alternatively, gifts that I've asked for, like if I said, hey, partner, friend, mom, dad, I would like you to purchase this eyeshadow palette for me, because I've requested that. I count that kind of in a similar vein as the Ulta points, where I charge myself half the amount of points it would normally cost me. However, any gifts that I have not asked for and someone has just thought of me, or PR, not that I get PR anymore. I think Fantasy Cosmetica kicked me off their PR list, but that's fine. If I do get PR in any capacity like that, or if I have gotten a gift that I've not asked for, those are free points, baby. I don't have to take any consideration into my bank. A gift is a gift, and that's how I kind of see that. So all of that to say, let's dive into the meat of this update and talk about the points that I've gained throughout the month of September. So I start things off usually with my No Pan Left Behind. I did end up hitting No Pan Left Behind in 8 different palettes within the month of September. I will save which palettes those are for that video, but that was 8 points gained into my bank for just using my collection and hitting No Pan Left Behind, which is always it's a really easy way to gain points relatively quickly for me. So I always appreciate the No Pan Left Behind. However, there is a finite number of points I gain for that throughout the year, because I only track hitting my No Pan Left Behind once per year. I guess maybe we should talk about kind of some exciting stuff and then go down to like the least exciting updates, because I feel like the exciting things kind of tie in to the least exciting things. If you missed my Pan That Palette update, I will link it, because a lot of these are like relative spoilers for that project. So I did hit a pan in a shade in my Pan That palette. It was Tuxedo Rose, so I gained 2 points for hitting pan in that shade. Then I also hit my big threshold number, which was 100 uses in a shade within that palette in the month of September. So that's 4 points gained for that 100 uses. That was in the shade Full Expose. Then moving to 50 uses, I ended up hitting 50 uses on 2 different shades. Again, those come from my Pan That palette. My Colourpop Crack On shade from the Bare Necessities palette, as well as my Franken Inner Corner shade. I'm tracking that as the shade of eyeshadow. So I'm tracking it in my eyeshadows that way. I'm not really tracking it for my highlights. So I ended up hitting 50 uses on the shade Rosewater shade 1. That was a depotted shade from the e.l.f. Rosewater quad. Then 25 uses I ended up hitting in Tuxedo Rose, which is that shade we hit pan on, and Miracle Romance, again, coming from my Pan That palette. And then lastly, I ended up hitting 10 uses on another shade from my Pan That palette. Spoiler, it's all Pan That palette shades. Clearly, we use it a lot, so we hit a lot of goals in that palette. So I ended up hitting another 10 uses on the shade Revel, and also, again, I hit 110 uses on Full Expose. So all in all, I hit 8 points for No Pan Left Behind, 2 points for 10 uses, 4 points for my 25 uses, 6 points for my 50 uses, 4 points for 100 uses, and then 2 points for my hitting pan. A total gain of, drum roll, 26 points gained in the month of September, which that's one of my biggest months to date. I think that might be like my second largest month of points gained throughout this year, which I'm really, really accomplished with that. Now, I am currently sitting in the end of September. As we started October, I have negative 21 points that I'm still working my way out of. So I really do think that I can hit I can hit 21 points within October. If I really make some smart decisions with my uses, I can definitely gain enough points to get me out of the deficit that I am in currently. However, I do think it's going to take me until November to really make a break out of the negatives in this eye bank. But if you are doing a project like this, I would love to know. I know Sophie Alexandra is doing something like this. Oh my goodness, there is someone else doing a project like this, and your name is blanking off the top of my head, but I will link you. So that is it for my eye bank for September. I am really looking forward again to getting out of the negative and just enjoying my collection. I have been making a ton of strides in this project, and the momentum is not stopping for me. As we get further into the year and as I'm tracking things more, I'm hitting more of these high point threshold gains, and it's making me really excited for just the future of this project. But my camera battery is about to die, so I'm going to cut this short. I hope you guys are staying healthy, sane, and safe, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye!